Hello, astrology lovers. Babula and I have returned from the astrology conference held on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia last weekend, and we are ready to jump into another episode of Astrology Now, where we dive into the cosmic currents and share our thoughts about the upcoming planetary movements. So, in this episode, we're exploring the magical energy of the new moon in Aquarius. Time for bold ideas, radical change, and thinking outside the box. So, whether you're looking to shake up old patterns, spark new connections, or dream big for the year ahead, this new moon energy is here to inspire us. So let's dive into the cosmic flow, Babula, and see what's in store for us over the next 2 weeks.
Yes, well, you've described that beautifully. Aquarius energy is well and truly with us because we know that on the 20th, the sun moved into Aquarius. So and on the full moon on the 29th, the moon joins the sun at 9. Mercury the day before also goes into Aquarius. Mercury loves being in Aquarius. People with Mercury in Aquarius in their birth chart, like their minds are just, and their nervous systems are so switched on and so wired up for, like you said, thinking outside of the box and being often very, very scientific, creative inventors. They're kind of the mad professors of the zodiac,
Geniuses, really? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's a period for us all to be and some people will enjoy this more than others, so the mental activity is very strong. And Aquarius is an air sign, as we know, but it's a fixed air sign. So there's a lot of mental power in this sign.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, if you've ever had a heated discussion, so shall we say, about differing opinions with someone with a lot of Aquarius, you will experience that energy very strongly. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got Aquarius rising, so when I'm having a discussion with someone and I don't agree, I just say, I don't agree with that, and this is why.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yes,
That's right, because and your thinking may be very different to other people or what the other person expects, and you might take them by surprise even.
yes, exactly. It can be a little bit shocking sometimes,
A
can't
little bit shocking.
it? Is what I was thinking just come out of my mouth?
That's right. And when the sun moved into Aquarius on the 20th, that day and the following day, it was also in a very close conjunction with Pluto. And of course, that was the inauguration day in the United States.
Yes,
Sun conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, right on the midheaven at that moment of that event.
yes,
So, whatever our views personally are about that, that is a very powerful event chart, and it speaks loudly of radical thinking, radical change, powerful transformation, kind of no holds barred sort of thing.
yeah. And that timing, you just can't make that stuff up.
You can't abate that stuff. And when you say that, I found myself saying that so often at the conference, and I go, you just can't make this stuff up. Like the astrological correlations with, what we're experiencing is just incredible.
Yeah, and just a quick segue about the conference that we just returned from. I just wanted to say personally, it was really lovely. All the lovely people who came up to me and said, "Oh, we watch you on the podcast," and because I don't know who anyone is, you would know most people, but I don't. So the astrology circle is very new for me. Speaking of
Yeah.
Aquarius,
Yeah.
a new community. So yes, so you're all very sweet, son. I really appreciated you coming to say hello. Mm.
That's just gorgeous, isn't it? And for me and others who've been to these conferences over many years, and it's been a while since we've had one, it really is like the family coming back together again. Communities are like that, aren't they?
Yes,
They form like family bonds. And with astrology, it's very Aquarian, Uranian. So there's all these very interesting different people coming together.
yes. There's a lot of Aquarian energy around now, and I can't help but feel that this moon and all the other Aquarian energy is sort of lining us up, getting us ready for launch for all this Piscean stuff that's going to come up. What do you think about that? Do you think that's sort of connecting?
It is. And that's a very interesting point. This year we're going to get a lot of movement across Pisces into Aries and back into Pisces and back into Aries, this massive transition. But I've always seen the last two signs of the zodiac, Aquarius and Pisces, representing a very different consciousness and way of being and way of experiencing and interpreting life, because they come after Capricorn, which represents the peak of, like, the peak of human achievement. Climbing the mountain is very earthy, it's very practical, it's very accomplishment oriented, the mission. And I always get this image, having climbed the top of the mountain with great effort, by the way. And you get to the top of the mountain and you go, well, where do I go from here? In Aquarius, where do you look? You look up to the heavens.
Yes.
And now you've got a big, 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 big panoramic view.
Mm.
And then when we go to Pisces, it's, well, now what? After I've endeavored to understand all of these things on an intellectual level, then you're left with something that's more to do with the realm of mystery and soul and spirit, which is very different again.
Mm.
So we're in a very different territory with this Aquarius Pisces combination.
Yeah. It's part of a bigger story.
Absolutely.
And I think that, when you talk about climbing to the top of the mountain, I mean, we have these sacred mountains around the planet that are, that where people go, some of them on pilgrimage to connect with that their own spiritual nature, but the greater,
Yeah.
great spirit, really.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
And so we look up and out and beyond, we're getting a much, much wider perspective. So yes, we're definitely in Aquarius energy now, very, very strongly. And what I've been experiencing, since coming back from the conference, this is a busy time for astrologers. Everybody wants a reading. Everyone's courses are starting, including mine. There's a lot of preparation and work to do, but I've been finding that the Aquarius energy is helping me to really focus and really get through what I need to get through, in all that sort of behind the scenes
Mm.
work, after all the excitement and interaction of the conference. It was just a great way to kind of kick off the year, really.
Yeah, and I just picked up so much interesting information, and I really appreciated the different teaching styles.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's certainly worth going to.
it really is. Yeah, it really expands your horizon. And we all learn lots of new things. I encountered some astrology teachers from overseas that I didn't really know anything about. And Australia's a wonderful Australian astrologers too. So this new moon, let's get back to the I know we could sit here and talk for an hour about the conference. And there are tons of fun. I just had so much fun. So the new moon on the 29th is at 9 degrees and 51 minutes of Aquarius. And it actually forms a conjunction. So there's the new moon with Mercury in Aquarius, which is really close to Pluto. So we've got this gathering or this stellium here of the new moon with powerful Pluto and Mercury, the messenger, the communicator. So it's kicking off this new lunar cycle and stamping it with that powerful transformative energy of Pluto. And I think a big part of that, and I'm noticing this in quite a lot of conversations online, given that so much is going on in the world, and particularly the big event in the USA, some people are starting to have a sort of a change of perspective, and this is really fantastic. We're questioning, we're going, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, this is interesting. Or, oh, what's going on here? And that's this energy. And are we going to be open enough to not just rigidly adhere to our position, but to let some of this Pluto energy, transform our perspective and our thinking?
Yes, exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think,
it's really important.
yeah, I think that Mercury in Aquarius, Mercury conjunction in Aquarius, there's a lot of aha moments,
Yeah,
that sort of perceptive insights.
yeah,
And with that Mercury is that mental agility, it's very quick, agile mind.
yeah,
And in Aquarius, like I was thinking about when we were going through the last few years, particularly 2020, 21 into 22, there was so much information washing over us and we couldn't take it in. It was just like, ugh, my mind
yeah.
was just too much. But now I think, with Aquarius, it is much easier to absorb a wealth of information, and with Mercury in Aquarius um, and I think more comprehensively because you're thinking about the bigger picture.
Mm, mm,
And that a consequence of that, I think, is that we cross-pollinate ideas from different fields of inquiries,
yes,
you know, and that, and that creates it just flows on, doesn't it?
it
Creates
does.
new ideas, new thoughts,
Mm,
original thinking, unconventional perspectives.
mm.
So yeah, trailblazing basically with new ideas.
Yes, and groups getting together, whether it's online or in person, and that cross-pollination, that cross-fertilization of perspectives is, and that's where humanity has to go. We have to expand and move beyond and let our consciousness and our intelligence keep expanding, 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 and it's not going to keep holding on to these old
Yes.
ways of thinking. We're moving into a very different realm now, and it's moving very fast, and we're all getting stretched. And what you were saying before about from 2020, remember at the end of 2020, there was a very, very important conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and that has put its stamp on the next 20 years. This is a 20-year cycle of those two planets. And miraculously, seemingly, it was at exactly 0 degrees of Aquarius. So we are in this Aquarius, and now Pluto's here too. So
Yeah.
it's like, here we go, baby. We're in the Aquarius energy big time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good time for networking and collaboration.
Yeah,
I was also thinking the word brainstorming came into my thinking as well, for
yeah,
collective goals,
yeah.
um, with that Mercury in Aquarius too. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so when you're at some kind of gathering like we've just been, it's like everyone, that's what we experience. Everyone's mingling and talking and exchanging and offering and reflecting and sharing information. And yeah, that's absolutely like a microcosm of what we're talking about going on the planet now and for many years to come. So
Mm.
so this month it's really being kicked off with the new moon. And by the way, this new moon, not only does it have a conjunction with Mercury, and Pluto, it's also got a beautiful trine, which is a very harmonious, mutually supportive alignment with Jupiter, expansive Jupiter in Gemini,
Mm.
Gemini being the sign ruled by Mercury. So this is a very mentally high energy, stimulating, expansive mentally, a lot combination of energies aligning on this new moon.
Yeah. I was also thinking because, Pluto's in there, Pluto conjunct Mercury in
Mm.
Aquarius. I was thinking about dark secrets, so, and then I thought, oh, that's right. Trump's just signed the executive order to release the files relating to the assassination of JFK and Martin Luther King.
I know, that
And I
is
thought,
huge.
wow, again, you can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. That is huge.
Yes, yes. So it's
Yeah,
very interesting. Um,
yeah.
did you want to say something? I was going to talk a little bit about Chariclo, but if you want to talk about something else.
No, no, do bring that in. That's fantastic.
Okay, so at the conference, I heard Zane Stein talk about the centaur Chariclo, and it's actually in a wide conjunction to the new moon. I think it's 9 degrees. So just to give you a little bit of background about it, Chariklo, belongs to a class of minor planets known as the Centaurs, and it was discovered in 1997. Actually, it's a bit bigger than Chiron. I was having a look at this on astronomy sites. So it's probably, and I'm going to say she, has probably got just as an important role as Chiron in chart reading. So I think I'm going to start adding her to
Good.
my
Yeah.
okay. But the story is in mythology. Chariklo is known for her unwavering love for Chiron, the wounded healer. So from the moment she met him, she knew she wanted to be with him. So without hesitation or waiting to be asked, she transformed herself into a centauress to marry him. And together they lived in a cave on Mount Pelion, where Chiron tutored, legendary heroes like
Yeah.
Achilles and Jason and the healer Asclepius. And while Chiron guided these figures in strength and wisdom, Chariklo acted as a grounding, civilizing force, teaching them to embrace and honor their humanity. Now, Chariklo loved Chiron completely, wounds and all. And rather than seeing differences or limitations as barriers, Chariklo teaches us to view them as opportunities to move forward. And this is reflected in her choice to transform into a centaur to be with Chiron rather than letting their differences separate them. So I thought that was really interesting because her story embodies the desire to push beyond boundaries, to give us permission to imagine new possibilities, explore different ways of doing things, alternative realities. And when you think about that, like she went, well, I can't be with Chiron because he's a centaur and I'm not. What does she do? She turns herself into a centaur. And I think that's real thinking outside the box. It's very
Yeah.
progressive,
Yeah.
and expresses her idea to find alternative solutions to her and Chiron's situation. So I think it's a really nice tie-in to this new moon in Aquarius, where you don't let limitations, because remember, Saturn is in there as another co-ruler of Aquarius, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and which has limitations, but Chariklo says, well, there's limitations, but let's go this way. Let's find new ways of doing things. Let's invent something new. And I was really in awe of that story. I thought it was just amazing.
That's beautiful. And she was moved, motivated by love, wasn't she?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. And there's something all inclusive about that,
yeah,
which is the one of the ideals of Aquarius, at its very best is Aquarius is that capacity to include and accept everybody because we're all flawed if we want to even use that terminology. We kind of are and we aren't, but no human's perfect. And it's such a huge teaching to be able to embrace and accept everyone as they are because, you said she loved him, wounds and all.
yes,
And we all carry wounds and different aspects of ourselves that aren't necessarily fully healed or shining the best light.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think if Chiron represents where we need to heal, Chariklo symbolizes the strength to begin the healing process. And
yeah,
her story encourages us to love ourselves, even the parts that we consider unlovable. So I
yeah,
think, and accepting our imperfections and all that sort of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And on Aquarius, that's very often what will show up for people with a lot of Aquarius energy. One of the wounds in Aquarius can be feeling like an outsider and nobody gets you or understands you. So that pain of feeling separate and misunderstood.
Yes, very much so. And
Yeah,
actually, just on that point, the opposite sign of Aquarius, oh God, my brain's a bit mushy, is Leo.
yeah,
And it's at the center of society, basically. But, like, I don't know, the prime minister, the president, I don't know. But Aquarius is not, it's the outsider. It's completely
yes,
opposite. But the gift of that is to be able to separate ourselves enough to look at the world and get maybe a clearer view or a
yeah,
different perspective, problem with that is, I think, seeing the shadow side is that you can disconnect so much,
Yes.
and you can lose that connection. And
Yes.
that's where you get people who've packed their bags and they're ready for the aliens to take them away, that
Yeah,
sort of
that's
thing.
right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
their home out there, as far as they're concerned. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot in this sign, isn't there? There's a lot on many, many, many levels.
Yes.
It's a very powerful sign. And yeah, I'm curious to see, because there's so much going on the world stage, like day by day by day by day these days. And right now there really is. I'm very curious to pay attention to see what will be, because things happen on days like this, on a powerful new moon like that. Things can happen, or things can be declared, or
Mm.
events happen. So it'd be very interesting to watch that space when that one happens. But I do like the trine to Jupiter in Gemini. So anyone who's doing any sort of mental work or has a project that involves their mind or communication, they might be writing papers or trying to get a book finished for publication, or you're writing courses or anything like that. Like, the energy is really there right now.
Mm.
Absolutely support that. Like, really make the most of that. It's really there.
Mm.
Just try and stay a bit grounded in the process.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
want to say one more thing about the Pluto Mercury conjunction in Aquarius.
Hmm.
Um, it's about the collective unconscious too. The collective feelings, what we're sensing in the world.
Yeah.
Do we feel electrified and excited, or do we feel like the world's going to hell in a handbasket? Those sort of thoughts can really bring us down. We're having dark thoughts, dwelling on the intense experiences of the collective, like wars, fires, earthquakes,
Mm.
all those sorts of things, which are all part of the human story, right? It's all part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, but I think I just wanted to say, if anyone's been feeling like that, and I think we
Mm.
all have it various times, um, we've got to remember that Pluto has the power of regeneration too.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
all seeds have to be buried in the darkness of the earth before they can break out and come into the light. So I think that while we might be seeing some difficulties, really big challenges, and those poor people over in the States with all the fires,
Yeah.
must be awful.
Yeah.
In that, there's things that we learn, like there's the gifts of the wisdom after the experiences, and we look back and go, oh, wow, yeah, what did I learn out of all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Um, while the beast is being stirred up inside us or in the world, it comes up for transmutation.
It certainly does. And just on that point, if anyone's feeling just mentally really challenged during this particular time, I'm a big fan of working with the elements in the most fundamental, basic way. And it can be, simple things can often help. And with an air sign like Aquarius, go outside and go for a really long, vigorous walk. It completely can change your mental state very, very, very quickly.
Yeah,
For like, it's an air sign. Use the element of air, literally get some air into our lungs, get out under the sky, fresh air. And it helps the mind to relax and expand and open up. And it changes our perspective very quickly. If
yeah,
we're just tunneling down like this all the time,
yes.
things can get very grim.
Yes, and we can suffer anxiety too, especially in the period,
Absolutely.
you know. Nervous system is going like this.
Absolutely. Sleep can be disturbed big
Yeah,
time with this
yeah.
Aquarius energy. Yeah.
I find that. I find walking, moving my body really helps me shift my mind out of a certain
Yeah.
state. And
Yeah. Yeah.
because
And
you're
getting
focused
outside.
through
Yeah.
the process.
That's right.
Mm.
And then very quickly during that new moon, which is on the 29th, Brisbane time, it's 10:35 p.m. So that's Wednesday evening. Um, on the 31st, Uranus, mighty Uranus, the planet that we say rules or governs the sign of Aquarius, turns direct after having been in retrograde motion in Taurus for 5 months.
Mm.
So the sun's in Aquarius, Pluto, Mercury, the
mm,
new moon, all within about a week, and Uranus, the ruling planet,
mm,
becomes stationary and begins to change direction in a forward movement.
mm.
That is a lot of this very, what's the word I'm looking for with Aquarius? It's like high voltage, high conscious, like at its highest expression, it's very almost sort of mind bending, but high consciousness, very expansive cosmic energy coming through. And if we can open and receive that, it can really shift um, not only our own individual consciousness, but the collective field as well. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of that energy,
Yeah.
very powerful.
Very, very much so. And I was thinking, just on a practical term, when Uranus turns direct, I mean, that's stirring up a lot of change. Looking for, there could be some financial instability too,
Yeah,
more shakeups with our material security and resources. So,
yeah,
yeah, that could be happening too. So, as you always say, Babula, just take care of your finances,
yeah.
get some more food into the house, this sort
Yeah,
of.
just basics, because it was one of the talks I gave at the conference. Uranus is the energy of shock and shock waves.
Yeah.
And so quite often with Uranus is being triggered and activated, which it is when over a few days it's stationary, changing direction,
Mm.
that can literally then manifest in the physical world as earthquakes,
Yes.
wild storms, crazy events happening in the world seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Shock resignations. Some world leader suddenly dies and is completely things like that go on
Mm.
very much. So it is an energy of shock. And being grounded in the physical, as it's difficult. If we just suddenly had a major shock, we've all had different shocks, and it's very difficult to stay fully in the body. Part of us kind of leaves the body to try and cope with the shock. So very important to try and find ways to come back and calm the nervous system and stay connected with the physical, with the earth. So yeah, it's just a huge energy, and we can see it in a very, very positive light
Mm.
in terms of the evolution of consciousness.
Mm.
But it can be a lot to handle over that last week of January.
Yeah. Just one more thing to add to that.
Yeah,
I think Uranus sort of often urges us to take risks as well. It's a bit risky, let's take a chance on this. And in Taurus, I would just say, this is my thinking, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but watch shares and stocks. If you've got shares and stocks, just watch them. Be careful.
it
Okay.
can get quite volatile and
Yeah.
chaotic.
Yeah, so maybe risk taking on something is not a good idea. I don't.
Yeah, because the one of the natures of Uranus is that it's like a wild card energy, which is, why Mr. Trump is very, very uranium. And no matter what our opinion of him is, he's got this wild card energy. Like you never know what's going to happen next.
Well, he just, what do you say? Drill, baby, drill. I thought, oh, yeah, that sounds like a.
Yeah, yeah, but he's like an expression. He's like a manifest expression of this very powerful Uranian energy that's now in the world and in the field, and there he is. So things manifest like that. Yeah, so very, very interesting time.
And I
Um,
also think that energy is about um, getting comfortable with the unexpected.
Absolutely. I've been saying that quite a bit, like we're all learning how to be very, very flexible, quickly adapt to change, because, I think we're all learning that art, aren't we? We have to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. All right, so as we go into February, see, and while all of that we've just been talking about is going on, there is also a lot going on in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is more the soothing waters and more the mystical realm of imagination and feeling and so on. So on the 2nd of February, Venus, who's been in Pisces for a few weeks, and she loves being in Pisces, comes to 28 degrees of Pisces and makes an exact conjunction both with Neptune and the North Node. So there's going to be, in those last days of February and the first week of, last days of January, first week of February, really peaking on the 2nd, this amazing combination of Venus, Neptune. Venus is exalted in Pisces, Neptune rules Pisces, and the North Node is now in Pisces. They are all together. That is very different energy to Aquarius. So Aquarius is, mental air energy. Pisces is water. It's all feeling and into. Actually, Aquarius and Pisces together can really be amazing for intuition, clairvoyance, channeling, like things just come to us, knowing, like insights, ideas, thoughts, feelings. You say, where did that come from? I don't know. Suddenly I just got this message or this thing or this inspiration or something just came to me. That is really up during this whole period, big time.
Yeah, yeah. And you just touched on watery sign. It governs liquids.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about oil and petrol. And I was,
Ruled by Pisces and Neptune.
yeah, with Venus there, I thought, oh, petrol prices might go up. You know?
Yes, well, hopefully they'll go down in time, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's right. So Neptune and Pisces have got a lot to do with oil, water, or all the waters on the planet,
yeah.
which has become very toxic, unfortunately. But it's also to do with anything to do with drugs, pharmaceuticals,
Mm,
legal, illegal, that whole realm.
yeah.
But really, because the North Node is here with Neptune and Venus, it's very much about remembering to not only let mind and intelligence expand, but to trust our heart and our feeling, and to not disconnect with what we feel and, tuning into our heart, because this is an energy of incredible love and mystical love, and compassion. And some people might find themselves having visions of a beloved spiritual teacher who's not even here in the physical, right? Like
Mm.
those kinds of mystical experiences, particularly through the heart, can really happen during those kinds of combinations of energies.
Mm. I think too, we have to be careful, and I'm gonna, me, practical me, remember that Neptune can be delusional, and so we might be more open to fantasizing about things. We might live in
Yeah,
a beautiful dream, oh, lovely. Um, and you're talking about love. We can have this dream that love can cure anything, so we might imagine someone has um, if I love someone enough, it'll be great. They'll be fine, or I can change,
that's right.
that sort of thing. And so we can fall under the delusion that someone has all types of wonderful virtues, but actually they don't have them. You might have just fallen in love with their beautiful blue eyes, but haven't had a look at the rest of them. You know what I mean?
That's right. And fall in love with the image
Yes, exactly.
and the presentation, and it may not be real.
Yeah.
So this can be a combination of energies during that period, where somebody, for example, could fall in love and really fall in love. Now, it might be real, and it could be a very deep soul connection, because we are talking about North Node and Neptune, but it could be a dream and a fantasy and illusion. So it's just really, so folks, anyone watching this, if you meet someone and it seems to be a dream come true,
Yeah.
beautiful, wonderful, just be a little bit, take your time. Like I wouldn't just kind of all of a sudden just throw everything in with this person, because after these energies move on, you're going to go, what was I thinking?
I know. I'm reminded of my son-in-law is a carpenter, and it's the rule is measure twice, cut once.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Double
yeah,
check. Have a good look.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it can be a very, very, very beautiful energy. But there's always that tricky side to this one
Yeah,
of just, is this real? But
yeah.
it can be, sometimes it's really healthy to have some kind of relief from the
Yeah.
harsh realities of this world. And it can be as simple as taking yourself off to see a beautiful movie,
Mm, mm,
just to take a break from
yeah.
everything, because it's pretty intense,
Yeah. And
you know?
there's another aspect too with Venus thrown in there, is that Venus loves to do things the easiest way, you know. So
Pleasure.
yeah, exactly. Let's what's the easiest way to do this? I feel wonderful, you know, like which actually can lead to laziness. I mean, if you know, people can be blobbing around in their recliners like I have since I came back from the conference.
And in
Um,
their pajamas, that's right.
just sort of, you know, absorbing it all, letting it do its thing
Yeah.
internally. But yeah, if you don't get yourself out of that chair after a few days, you find you want to sit there for a few more weeks.
That's right. But I would encourage people over those few days when this combination, if you're really, really tired, if you can, like, really take it easy, because that energy will really support that to do that. And sometimes
Yeah,
we need. So there's a lot of different ways we can look at this.
yeah.
And if anyone's an artist or a musician, that's a gorgeous combination. I mean, the muse is going to be channeling through you like crazy. Um, so that can be very beautiful for that. I love the way we kind of bounce off each other, like the positive, yeah, just watch out for this one.
Well, I can't help it. It's my, you know, Saturn on my sun.
I
And
know, the
let's be
voice of
real.
caution.
Let's be real with this. Like, you know, I love to do the Dr. Phil thing. So how's that working for you? You know, you got this dream, well, yeah, but how's it working? You know, so
That's right.
it's
That's
just my
right.
nature.
That's right. That's so then on the 4th, Mars, of course, is continuing in his retrograde story. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when Mars, at the end of February, turns direct again and then comes back through over all the territory that has been going backwards through. That's going to be fascinating to watch that.
Mm,
But
mm,
Mars retrograde will make a square to Chiron, the wounded
mm,
healer, in the sign of Aries. So Mars rules Aries, Mars retrograde in Cancer, squaring to Chiron. So for some people, that can manifest as perhaps illness or emotional wounding, because we're talking about Mars in Cancer.
mm,
Some old emotional wounds related to childhood or family or
mm,
a parent or a child
mm,
might arise because Chiron's very much about bringing our attention to a wound, to something that needs healing and transformation, So yeah, I just kind of mentioned, but what's interesting, there's other things happening on that date,
mm.
because Venus goes into Aries.
I
So
know.
Mars, the ruler of Aries, square Chiron in Aries, 18 degrees, and then Venus goes into Aries out
Mm,
of Pisces. So Venus sadly exits the waters of Pisces, where she loves to be in her true romantic nature, and now she's ready for action, right?
mm.
The goddess of love, that principle of pleasure and enjoyment and heart connection, she's ready for action, and she wants to. I say she. I'm kind of as a
There's a she.
as an archetype. She's a she. As an archetype, she's a she. She's the goddess. So yeah, so she's ready to move now. And on the same day Jupiter turns direct in Gemini. That's a lot of energy. So
It
this
is.
whole period, there is a lot.
Yeah,
And it can feel a little confusing because there's a lot of different complex things all moving.
yeah, exactly.
You can't just nail it and down and say it's going to be exactly like this. It's not
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. And there's a couple other things too with Venus in Aries. Just around, we were just talking about love before. Um, love is very spontaneous in
Yeah.
Venus in Aries and direct, and the chase is very exciting,
Yeah.
you know. So it's just it was just something that I thought about. Now, there was one other thing that I was reading with there are some indications that Venus in Aries aspects help in breeding race horses and winning races. Have you heard that before?
No,
Well, that was new to me too. So, because I thought, oh, maybe some gambling's involved in here. I don't know, but I'd never heard that before.
I haven't heard that in relation to Venus. Like gambling is usually related to the sign of Sagittarius and
Yeah.
the planet Jupiter.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Although, is it Venus directly or Venus in Aries
Uh,
typically?
I think it was. Oh, actually, you've got it. I don't find
If
out.
it was Venus in Aries,
Hmm.
Aries is very impulsive.
Hmm.
So perhaps, and Venus is the primary money planet, right? So it could
Yeah.
be being very impulsive
Hmm.
around finances.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
there can be that.
Interesting.
Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So the other thing, Venus is very much about pleasure and beauty. And in Pisces, that has a certain look. In Aries, as you said, it's fiery, it's immediate, it's
Yeah.
bright, it's bold.
Yeah.
So you go for what you want. You go for the pleasure. You go if you see someone over a crowded room. Venus in Pisces would not directly approach, but Venus in Aries does. She
Yeah.
says, "Oh, I want to go and talk to that person," and away
Yeah.
she goes.
And I think when they do that, do you think that Venus would sort of it'd temper that Aries energy, wouldn't it, to a
It
degree?
can it can do, and the people I know with Venus in Aries, particularly women with it, they have the Aries energy, but they have this heart energy that comes with it.
Mm.
There's a softening of the Aries energy,
Yeah.
and they're instead of always being perhaps aggressive or abrasive, they're still very direct and highly energized, and they
Mm.
go for it. But there's this energy of love and beauty that
Mm.
comes with that. So this could be, Venus will be in Aries for a few weeks. So it's going to bring some energy. But of course, the thing about this is she's going to get to 10 degrees of Aries on the 2nd of March,
Mm.
and she's going to go through a retrograde phase, a 40-day retrograde phase, and she's going to go back into Pisces.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So Venus is up now. Venus is going to be really important and really active, and she's going to form a star point, one of those points on the
Yeah.
five-pointed Venus
Yeah.
star.
Yeah.
So this is a very important Venus period. And so Venus is women, love, beauty, pleasure, enjoyment, um, the arts, relationship.
Yeah.
So, and women, just the whole feminine principle is going to be really quite important over the coming 2 months or so.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
So getting back to Jupiter going direct in Gemini, we've
Yes,
mentioned it,
yes.
we talk about it. S- So
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
on.
Yeah,
You want,
so Jupiter expands whatever it touches, it just brings incredible increase. So while it's been in Gemini since I forget when it moved in, June, I think it was, of last year,
yeah,
for a good 6, 7 months now. It's very busy. Gemini is a very busy sign, and
yeah,
it's a sign of duality. There's two sides to everything. So everything keeps flipping and changing and moving, and great time to have an astrology conference. Like, everybody's curiosity is up and everybody's just hungry to learn and connect and talk.
yeah.
Um, but it's been retrograde, so we've been doing a lot of reviewing around, and Jupiter's got a lot to do with our beliefs, doesn't it? What we believe to be
Mm.
true.
Yeah,
And Gemini can really flip things on their head.
absolutely. And I think I think that energy for me is about lots of scuttlebutt, about talking, spreading things around, but not really double
Yep,
checking things too,
yep, yeah.
and talking, but with no real substance or depth,
Yes.
so gossiping.
Gossiping, hearsay,
Yeah,
rumors,
yeah,
and believing that that's true because someone said something,
yeah, exactly.
not checking, and not questioning, going, well, hang on, really? Yeah,
Not checking the facts.
That's right. That's right.
That's the real thing that gets up my nose.
No, I know. That's absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And some facts are hard to check, you could, because so much information has been not made available, shall we say.
Yes, yes. And
So, yes, go on.
I just had a practical demonstration of that. I was having a chat this morning and I was shown a meme where it was something to do with the conspiracy around the LA fires, and it was showing a suburb with houses and there were trees around it, so it hadn't been affected. And I said, you can't believe everything that you see in a meme, like, and I said, first of all, those houses don't look burnt. And secondly, those trees could be like some that I've got in my backyard, which are actually a fire retardant. And that would make sense to have them around it so close to houses. So I said, yes, there's a lot of questions around the fires that have happened in LA, around the LA area, but there's also people who want to push conspiracies
Yeah, that's
further
right.
than what they already are. So we have to double check stuff.
That's right.
Yes,
And if I'm going to share something online that I've come across, I go to some other sources to try and find out more, because you just can't make, immediate assumptions. And
exactly.
especially with AI, you can't trust imagery very much anymore.
Yes, yes.
So it's tricky. So Jupiter now turning direct is really going to be amplifying this Gemini energy in a big way. But what will happen, things will start to move forward when a planet, and remember, Uranus on the 31st has just gone forward, and now Jupiter, these are two very high energy planets,
Mm,
and they have a lot to do with knowledge, both of them in different ways. And so they are both changing direction, and after a long retrograde period are moving forward. Again, things are going to move like even faster than they have been. Things are really moving. Um, heads will be swimming some days, I think.
mm,
So much will be happening, but it can be like my foundation astrology course starts, and I love that with this, everyone's going to be switched on and ready. Let's go. We're so keen
mm.
and so excited to do this. So this is an amazing time for anyone who's taking on a course of study or getting into some field of knowledge.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
energy is really there to support that in a big way.
yeah. I just thought I'd just quickly mention that February the 4th is the date for the pagan celebration of Lammas, which is the big point between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. And it's a time to give thanks for the abundance of the harvest, particularly, I can't say it, typically involving grains like wheat and barley. And we were just having a chat before we
Yeah.
started recording about Ceres being up around, in a very wide conjunction, but still up there
Yeah.
around the new moon. And goddess Ceres, governs crops,
Yeah.
agriculture with grains.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very much in food production in general. And um, yeah, so that's a very interesting one, isn't it? That's another issue that's become very important in the world.
Hmm.
Um, Interesting in Aquarius, because Ceres is such an earth goddess,
Hmm.
and Aquarius is such a sky energy. It's
Yeah.
very interesting one, that one.
Maybe she's going
Um,
to ground some of that.
yeah, I certainly hope so. And perhaps she's going to bring a bit of wisdom to this energy. Yeah.
Mm.
And you see, remember, the sun will keep moving forward 1 degree per day.
Mhm.
So 10 days after the new moon, the sun will come to Ceres, and then Mercury will come to Ceres. So we can even watch. And if we're curious about that, pay attention to those days when that happens, because it will activate the Ceres energy, and we'll see things going on around us and in the world related exactly to that. That's actually, I mean, we can learn so much astrology through, learning from teachers and books and so on, but to actually watch it
Yeah,
day after day live, experientially, is pretty amazing.
it is. It is.
It's living astrology. Yeah, and very, very informative. So then the Neptune North Node conjunction becomes absolutely exact on the 7th at 28 degrees and 9 minutes of
Yeah.
Pisces. But that's really there now, is there all through February. That's just the day it's precise.
Mm.
And I think on a deep karmic and soul level, individually and collective, that speaks a lot about trusting our inner knowing, and I mean that really, trusting our inner intuition and being more and more open to the mystical, spiritual side of this whole collective evolutionary process that we're going through. And that can look like, for us all, our perspectives are shifting. Our perspectives around, that's true for me over recent years, around what spiritual even means. It's such a word that we throw around. It's just shifting all the time. And, I think this is a really important transit. And the North Node going through Pisces now for the next 18 months is about us all learning more about letting go, having a deeper trust, having a deeper faith, not in any individual or external process in the world, but in the great, you could call it great spirit, you can call it God, you could call it the great mystery, the great unknown. Having a deeper trust in that, that through all this stuff going on in the world and on the planet, there's something even bigger than that,
Yeah.
and more vast and mysterious than that. And that's what to me, what this story is about now is the North Node's going back through Pisces over these 18 months. To bring us more and more into some kind of alignment and connection with that. And this conjunction with Neptune is that big time.
Yes. Yeah.
And that can include experiences of loss, things happening that feel like they're out of our control, because much of life happens that's not in our control. Some would say all of it.
Yeah.
Um,
That brings some grief in, doesn't it?
yes. And what's our relationship with that?
Yeah.
Do we have a deep trust in just the rightness of all things, no matter what, while still allowing ourselves to feel and experience everything that unfolds? Or are we railing against it and fighting against it?
Yeah,
These are important, deep things.
yeah, I'm wondering if there's sort of like, questions around regret about what we've sacrificed as a civilization to get to where we are,
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things.
Yes.
The collective ideas of, and was it worth it? It reminds me of that song, They Paid Paradise to Put Up a Parking Lot.
Yeah.
And it's sort of that energy.
Yeah. And the grief of what's been lost in
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
And for some, this can really highlight the grief of people who have passed on, died, been lost in their lives. It can really heighten that. And if someone's had that experience, just for example, in the last 2 months, but maybe they haven't really fully felt it or fully grieved it or fully gone there, this kind of transit of Venus, Neptune, North Node in Pisces could just really open that up in a way that they can't keep the lid on it anymore, which can be a really powerful and beautiful thing and a process of real healing and release.
I think too, it could be like I was having this experience yesterday of just feeling grief,
Yeah.
sadness, but I couldn't put
Yeah.
my finger on what it was.
That's it.
It's like it was so, I couldn't grasp it.
No.
Yeah, but it was a really deep, I was almost on tears just for a few minutes. And I thought, where is that coming from? Picking it
Yes.
up, I think picking it up in the world,
Yep.
tuning into that. Yeah.
Yep. And we've all been through a lot. And because things are moving so quickly, we don't always take enough pause
Yeah.
to just stop and be still and feel what we're feeling. We've been through so much.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this particular one, this Pisces energy, and remember I said there's a lot of movement going on all through this year and into next year across the Pisces Aries. One of my talks at the conference was exactly about that, with all the visuals of all these planets, bunch of them moving backwards and forwards through, back into Pisces, forward into Aries, back into Pisces, forward. It's pretty remarkable. This is a really powerful year. And what we didn't touch on, Cheryl, I'm going to have to go back to the new moon. The new moon on the 29th of January marks the Chinese New Year. It's the beginning, it's the new year of the Chinese calendar, and it's extremely important energetically. I always say we have a few New Years. To me, there's three. There's the Western one, 1st of January, the Chinese one, beginning the year of the snake, and then there's the when the sun is 0 degrees of Aries in March.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the astrological zodiacal year. So the year of the snake, it's all about transformation, deep healing, deep mystical, magical realms, shedding, releasing. I think it's a 9 year. I think it's everything together. This is a phenomenally important year, probably the most important of this whole decade.
Mm.
And
I think
by
it's
the end,
setting
yeah,
up for next year to start.
that's right.
Mm.
That's right. So, yeah, a really extraordinary time. And we're just going to be saying again and again, you can't make this stuff up.
That's so.
Oh, and that brings us to the full moon, and it's a cracker.
Yeah.
Because this is a full moon. The full moon will be at 24 degrees of Leo, opposite the sun in Aquarius, in a very tight square to the planet Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius. So that is a very potent full moon, which is the peak, of course, of this current lunar cycle that starts on the 29th at the new moon. It will peak at the full moon in a big, big, big way. Yes, I will have a lot to say about that when the time comes. So we're in very big, high energy at the moment.
Mm.
It's not what I'd call really grounded energy.
Yeah.
So I think we're having to just ride these huge waves of incoming energy.
Yeah, it's the currents, isn't it? The electric
Yeah.
currents at the moment.
Yes, and I have to say it's very cosmic, really.
Yes, yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And there is a huge amount going on in the UFO arena too. It is huge, really big stuff. People of import and who are very credible people high up in the military and government, etc., coming forward and talking about what they knew while they were holding those
Yes,
about crashed UFO craft. So we've got all this Aquarian energy just
absolutely.
that's about to blow, I reckon.
It's absolutely about to blow. It's right, because they've all been silenced for so long. It's about to blow.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there we are. Well, thank you, Babula. It's an incredible time to be alive. I just don't want to be anywhere else.
No, I'm the same. And it feels like when it all started in 2020, I had this, people think I'm a little weird, but I honestly had this feeling of, oh, thank God, we've finally come to this critical point where humanity and this planet can begin to change and evolve and awaken. And here we go. And I knew it was going to be bumpy,
Yes,
but this is what we're here for.
yes, exactly. So, well, thank you. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like it. And also remember, with all this Aquarian energy, this is also about being your true self. Being your real self doesn't matter how quirky it is, how
Yep.
different, unusual, just be yourself.
Yep.
And that's the greatest gift you can give to the world right now.
Absolutely well said.
So thank you everyone for listening. Like, share if you like, and remember to subscribe, tap that bell, and we will we'll tap you. We'll see you again next time for the full moon in Leo. Woohoo!
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.